Camp is camp. It's tough, but it's for me to want to push myself. This is what I do, this is what I live for. I'm ready for battle. I feel like I'm getting stronger, and I feel by the time the fight comes, I'll be at peak performance.
One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
It's unbelievable how far and how wide sports can take you and the things that you get access to.
Here's a clean, sharper, rewritten version. Anthony Joshua has officially kicked off his first day of training camp for his newly confirmed showdown with Jake Paul, now targeted for December 19th. Wasting no time, the former heavyweight champion has entered camp with a laser-focused mindset, determined to refine every tool in his arsenal. Jake Paul, whose rise from YouTube personality to professional boxer has been as controversial as it is attention-grabbing, now steps into the biggest challenge of his career. But unlike past opponents, he's facing a seasoned, battle-tested powerhouse with true world-class experience.
Just the second leg of the training camp. I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling refreshed. So yeah, come inside, have a look what's going on. Tough training, tough lifestyle, rough and tough. But listen, how else would I want it? I love it. So what am I bringing differently? I wouldn't say a new mindset, but definitely like a new perspective. But ultimately, everything new has to lead to a win. So yeah, that's what I'm focused on right now, just winning. With training camp, it's grueling, like there's no doubt about that, but you just need to have a clear mind and be optimistic and run towards challenges every day. And that's how I'm able to get through, is just the perspective I have on what suffering looks like. There's a certain standard that one has to have if they want to achieve certain things. I am working past efforts, measures that I set out for myself. Yes, it's tough. Yes, I'm tired.
Mike Koa has reported that the Anthony Joshua vs. Jake Paul showdown is officially finalized for December 2025 in Miami, set to stream on Netflix as a sanctioned professional heavyweight bout.
Mentioned earlier that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now, because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul over a deal for a heavyweight fight in Miami next month. Of course, the YouTuber Paul has already fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, and beaten him. And he's now in talks with Anthony Joshua with a view to the two of them fighting in Miami next month.
Eddie Hearn pushed back on the earlier report but confirmed that the fight is indeed happening, clarifying that it will take place under full Queensberry rules, not as an exhibition. He emphasized that there will be no modified conditions such as oversized gloves or shortened rounds. Instead, they'll use standard 10-ounce competition gloves, agree on the rounds beforehand, and compete under the traditional professional boxing rule set.
Telling Ring Magazine, Anthony Joshua, your man, and Jake Paul are finalising a deal for a December heavyweight fight in Florida. True or false?
I mean, the gun was jumped a little bit and fired early. There have been conversations. For us, we were flirting with the idea of having this little 8-round fight this year. Not with Jake Paul, by the way, because he was fighting Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's no.
But we were going to go on a other card somewhere. You wouldn't have really heard of the person we were going to fight. But AJ wanted to go through the motions, wrap the hands, and just gear up to what is really in the works with Turki Al-Sheikh, which is 2 fights in 2026, and that includes Tyson Fury. That's the plan for Turki Al-Sheikh. We received a phone call from Nikisa Baldirian, from MVP, who, by the way, we've spoke to a few months before talking to us about the fight, and he said, look, would you want to fight Jake Paul? And I said, listen, I don't want to just be a publicity muppet for you, you know, telling everybody that you offered the fight to Anthony Joshua. If you're serious, we can discuss the numbers, and if there's a chance for us to run out in December and, you know, take care of this bloke and get him out of the boxing world and make several tens of millions in the process, of course, we will consider it. And that's basically where we are at now.
And do the numbers stack up?
Of course, I mean, like, you know, it's difficult to have this conversation. I think sometimes you just need...
He told Sky Sports that they have zero interest in exhibitions. If Jake Paul wants the fight, it will be a real bout at an agreed-upon weight. However, Hearn also stressed that the deal is not finalized yet. He described the chances as 50-50ths, noting that several important discussions still need to take place before anything is officially signed.
extremely dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please, AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so we can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight. But I truly believe you're going to.
Hearn said Jake Paul is crazy enough to chase a fight with Anthony Joshua, even though Joshua is a true heavyweight monster, and the payday for both men would be enormous, but he didn't sugarcoat the danger. Hearn warned that matching the inexperienced Paul against a seasoned, elite fighter like AJ is a catastrophic mismatch, one that could realistically end Paul's career, whether literally or figuratively.
Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, 50-50 fight. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just said in another interview, great if it is. I mean, if it is, then you've got no problem seeing it. But when AJ, I mean, decapitates a strong word, but you know, when he renders Jake Paul unconscious like he did to Francis Ngannou, don't then say, oh well, it was Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when AJ beat Francis Ngannou, Ngannou just had a fight that could have gone either way with Tyson Fury. Then AJ poleaxed him and everyone just said he's just an MMA fighter. Do you know what I mean? Jake Paul's not Francis Ngannou. But, as I said before, if you want to see Jake Paul exit the boxing world...
However, Hearn also acknowledged that Paul's strategy is clear. He targets established professional boxers who can deliver massive paydays.
AJ, ever so quickly, I watched Jake Paul at the weekend. I feel a bit dirty saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but he did say after the fight that he's sort of having DMs or he's dropping text messages to AJ. They're having a chat about a potential fight. What's your view on that, Eddie?
Well, look, he's calling out Gervonta Davis, who is a 135-pound lightweight, and he's calling out Anthony Joshua, that's a heavyweight monster. I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul. Hopefully not literally, but it's that dangerous that, you know, it's a fight that I don't think should really happen, if I'm honest. I would say about Jake Paul, and I've said this in a couple of interviews today, I do think you start after giving him a margin of respect. You know, I think this guy is going through the motions, he's putting the hard spars in. He just went 10 rounds with, yes, a washed up fighter, but a former world champion that did train for that fight. But they're very clever in terms of the opponents that they pick. They're not going to gamble unless the money's out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul, wanted to move forward with an Anthony Joshua fight. Honestly, AJ's coming tonight. He's not exactly looking at Jake Paul going, oh, that's my dream opponent. No. Would he go in there and give him a hiding for, you know, a massive chunk of money? Probably. I'd be saying, yeah.
Simon Jordan has admitted that, despite his strong criticism, the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight could actually benefit boxing in several ways. He acknowledges that the matchup will draw massive global attention, attract millions of new viewers, and create significant financial opportunities for everyone involved. Jordan notes that boxing is also a business, and pairing a former heavyweight champion with one of the world's biggest digital entertainers guarantees huge money, major media coverage, and mainstream visibility. He believes the spectacle will entertain casual fans, generate headlines, and fuel debates, keeping the sport relevant. While he still questions the fight's competitive legitimacy, he concedes that commercially and financially, it could be a major win for boxing.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the world heavyweight championship twice, and he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment, and if an opportunity is presented to him, and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
many people wouldn't have this.
Well, I'm not having,
because this isn't a proper fight where a Saturday night is.
But I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And will I watch it? No. And do I value it? No. But when I'm asked to be confronted with a fight between two legends' sons and then get involved in all of the nonsense that goes.
Simon Jordan also took aim at the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight, arguing that the entire promotion leaned far more on nostalgia than genuine sporting merit. He said the event was being marketed off the legacy of their father's iconic 1990s rivalry rather than anything the two fighters had accomplished in their own careers. Jordan criticised promoters for weaponising history to distract from the fact that the matchup made little competitive sense, Ben moving up dangerously in weight while Eubank Jr. was being forced to cut down. Jordan drew a parallel to Joshua versus Paul, calling it an even more blatant cash grab. He described it as a mismatch between a former heavyweight champion and a social media star, warning that it undermines the integrity of the sport. He questioned whether such a fight should even be sanctioned, citing the physical danger to Paul and the potential long-term damage to Joshua's legacy if he continues down this path.
Merits the kind of returns that they're going to get for the level that they've operated in their careers. And that's one of my issues around the Conor Benn Eubank fight. This fight over here with Anthony Joshua, I know what this is. No one can dress this up. This is a turd that will get polished into a huge pile of money. And if you know that from the outset, so I don't have any illusions about it. Neither does anybody else. Nobody thinks that this is a real fight. Nobody thought. I mean, Spencer tried his very level best and will never try it again to convince us that Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Well, this is something similar, but for different reasons. Anthony Joshua is still a live heavyweight, and if he hits Jake Paul's going to get hurt. Yeah. And some people might think that's a good thing to happen to him, to learn his lesson. But he is also now fighting. He's got a fighter's license. And the question should be along the lines of what Chris Eubank Sr. was raising. Is it right? Is this appropriate that a high-performing supreme athlete like Anthony Joshua, whose only real challenges now are probably in his mind, because physically he can operate at the highest level if he still chose to, should be stepping in against someone like Jake Paul that does not have the skill set to deal with the kind of power and expertise that Anthony Joshua has? And should boxing be sanctioning this? This is the bigger question.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Having said all that, Netflix tell us 60 million households worldwide tuned in live to see Mike Tyson take on Jake Paul. Why would Jake Paul end up fighting?
Adding to the growing hype, boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. offered a surprising and more cautious perspective on the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup. Rather than celebrating the spectacle, Jones stressed that the fight must make sense for Joshua on both competitive and financial levels, warning that a matchup of this nature should only happen if it truly benefits the former champion's career.
I want to change subjects just a little bit here. And Anthony Joshua, there's rumours circulating he could be fighting Jake Paul next. One, do you think it's good for boxing? And two, do you think the fight will happen?
I think it's great for boxing. I think the fight will happen. AJ is 1-0 against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's a perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out? And for him, he'd probably make more money fighting Jake Paul than he will fighting anybody else that he can fight right now. So why would he not do it? I mean, not that he needs the money right now anyway, but if he's going to do something, if he want to get a good win to put him back on the scene, that's